China says it has ended 3 days of military drills that simulated sealing off Taiwan. Beijing dispatched dozens of warplanes, including nuclear-capable bombers and warships, as part of the exercises. China says it practiced precision strikes and blockading the island, which it views as its own territory. The drills were announced after Taiwan's president returned from the U.S., where she met with the Republican House Speaker. Taiwan's defense ministry says it recorded more than 200 flights by Chinese warplanes over the past 72 hours. Meanwhile, a group of Canadian MPs are set to visit Taiwan this week, a move that China says blatantly violates the One China principle. And for more on this, I'm joined by Charles Burton, Senior Fellow at Macdonald Laurier Institute and former political science professor. Charles, thanks for your time tonight. I do appreciate it.
It's good to speak with you, Lindsay.
So let's start with that last message I just read from China. Do you think Canada visiting Taiwan, quote, blatantly violates the One China principle?
Well, Canada doesn't have a one China principle the way that China interprets it. When we established diplomatic relations, we took note of China's claim over Taiwan. But in terms of whether Taiwan should be a province of China or determining its own future, that's up to the people of Taiwan to decide. And Canada, I think, as a democratic country, would accede to the will of the people living on that territory.
Well, this comes just days after Taiwan's president met with U.S. officials. Are these meetings a way for Canada and the U.S. to really show their support for Taiwan?
Well, I think so. I mean, certainly, we have a trade relationship with Taiwan. I think the question really is the extent to which we would support the United States and other allies if China decides to annex the island of Taiwan by force. And I think this kind of visit by MPs, none of them at cabinet rank, but headed by a member of the Liberal Party, John McKay, with 3 Liberals, 4 Conservatives, 2 NDPers, and Stéphane Bergeron from the Bloc, sends out a signal that Canada is united in defense of Taiwan's democracy and the right of the Taiwan people to determine their own political future. So I think it is a significant meeting and does go along with the U.S. Policy of trying to provide greater credibility and acceptance of the democratically elected president of Taiwan, Tsai Ing-wen. She met with the Speaker of the U.S. Senate in California last week. And currently, the head of the American House of Representatives Foreign Affairs Committee is in Taiwan and has been making commitments to Taiwan for further military support and training. So, it's indicative that we are not going to simply stand idly by and let China impose its autocratic will on the people of Taiwan who are happy with the status quo and enjoy a democracy that is very similar to our own political system.
But even so, I mean, I'll ask this because you mentioned our trade relationship with Taiwan, but Canada also has quite a trade relationship with China. Should Canadians be concerned that this could maybe hurt the relationship with China in terms of trade?
Well, I think certainly China is known to engage in economic coercion against countries that don't comply with its political demands. At the time of the arrest of the Huawei CFO Meng Wanzhou in 2019, while we were considering a U.S. extradition request, in addition to the hostage diplomacy of arbitrarily seizing 2 Canadian citizens, China also engaged in some economic coercion by banning the import of Canadian canola seeds into China, a $30 million a year business, and some meat. So we could see that. But the bottom line here is that we do need to diversify our trade away from over-reliance on the Chinese market. And up to now, only about 4% of our external commodity trade goes to China. And that is mostly agricultural commodities and minerals for which there is a world market. So, if China's not taking our agricultural commodities, the price will go down, and that will make us more attractive to market in other countries. So I don't think that we have to be concerned about Chinese economic coercion, nor do I think that we should compromise our Canadian values simply to try and expand our market share in this nation. I mean, there are more important things than giving in to China on trade.
Okay, well, always good to speak with you, Charles. I really do appreciate your time. Good to get your insight. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's Charles Burton, Senior Fellow at Macdonald-Laurier Institute and former political science professor.